allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Jamie Bowman?
Here.
Ed Ruchell?
Present.
Frank Myers?
Here.
Jan Bruns?
Here.
George Weiner? Nikki Kenny?
Here.
Frank Rolfe? Absent. We have a quorum.
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, or I guess first, is there any changes to the agenda that need to be made? No? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve? Motion made by George, a second? Ed seconds it. Okay. And then the minutes.
We need to vote on it.
Oh, all those in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. And we have minutes from the November 18th meeting. Anybody have any corrections or additions? Okay. Any motions to approve them as is?
Motion to approve as read. Seconded.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 18th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Our first order of business is HPCA number 140217A, a request to demolish a commercial structure at 875 St. Genevieve Drive, outside the historic district.
Comments 03178.
What? 137?
03178.
Yeah, it should be 03.
03, okay.
Did your agenda say 2?
Pardon me?
Did yours say 2?
Mine says 2.
Mine says
They all
two.
say to.
Yeah, mine says 2.
But the correct is 3.
Yeah, it is on
On the staff
that.
report, it is 3.
But on the agenda, it's 2.
Both of them are wrong.
Okay, is someone here to speak about this?
No, they're not going to be.
No,
on
but
to
no
decide.
representatives, okay. This is a request to demolish a structure at 875 St. Genevieve Drive, and this property is owned by MRV Bank. Any questions? I don't know who to answer, but ask away.
I can try to answer them if you have
Yeah.
questions. I talked to the contractor this afternoon.
And it's outside in a historic district.
Yes, yes.
When was the main structure built?
I don't know, and they don't know. On the application, I believe it says 1960s. I think it's probably a little bit older than that, but there's no other
When
time.
was it last occupied?
Oh, several
The door in
years.
there. Pelton? Yeah. When did it
Yeah,
close?
2 years ago, not
Okay.
not even.
Williams was there?
Probably a year or two.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a year and a
That's
half.
what I
or
thought. I
so.
just wanted to confirm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. And now I'm not going to find the page, but there was, on this, something about directing or asking them, suggesting that they reuse the
Page two.
the salvageable.
Page 2.
Page 2, right where I could easily find it. Yeah.
The underlined section.
Aha, there it is. So has that been brought up to them?
No.
No. Though we don't have the power to,
We don't have the power, even if Well, no, we don't have the power to ask. It's simply a suggestion.
So I'd like to see that that's made to the owners as a suggestion. Yeah,
Because that actually isn't a requirement in the design guidelines.
right, right. But it's a good idea, so. Anybody have any motions or?
I would make a motion that we approve the demolition of the building at 875 St. Genevieve Drive.
George, second it?
Excuse me.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Is there a timeline, Brenda, how fast they want to tear it down or anything?
No, he has not applied for the DNR permit yet. It has to go to Board of Aldermen first, which is, I believe, April 13th or somewhere around there. It's the next meeting.
It's not really that bad a building, is it? It's not really in bad a shape building at all, huh?
Well, I haven't been inside.
Yeah.
The contractor said that the bank felt that it would cost too much to bring it up to current code to use it again. So I don't know how bad it is on the inside.
Yeah, they removed the building next to it. It's still in the picture, this old picture. The barber shop and I think it was Shaughnessy's.
Yes.
Huh?
Very good.
You remember that? George, showing your age.
I remember when they had begun the construction on the bank, that they had first had to get approval to tear down another structure, and that this had gotten on our radar then. Okay, so we have a motion to that, and it has been approved. We will move on to, I'm going to read it off, we didn't vote again. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. We're moving on to HPCA 14-0317B, if I read it correctly on that one. And this is a request for demolition permit for 13 Jefferson Street. Do you have someone there to, Donna, would you like to join us up here in front of the microphone?
I can.
Come ahead. Would you like to tell us what the plans are?
To destroy the building. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Anybody have any questions?
You gonna tear it down in place or haul it off?
Yes.
Do it and pull it off?
Yeah, no, we can't pull. There's no wheels, so it has to be demolished, torn down. And all of the contents removed, yes. So there will be a vacant lot.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So you don't have any intention of putting that whole home there, just?
No
just-
intention, no. I don't think that would be permitted either.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to demolish.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of allowing a demolition permit for 13 Jefferson Street, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes.
When you vote, may I leave after this? I don't want to be rude, but...
No. Yes, yes, you may. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The ayes have it, and you have your demolition permit. All right. Anybody have any old business? Any new business? Okay, citizens' input?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Other business not on the agenda?
Before we get to Doug and Susanna, the pictures in front of you, those are two projects going on currently. One is the Paquette Rabot, and I have some pictures of what he proposes to do with the old chicken coop, which will be the Welcome Center. There should be two sets there.
This is all.
There's only two sets, you and George have to share.
We got to share.
They have not finalized the construction plans yet.
Will we see them when they do?
Yeah, when they do, yeah. The windows that he proposes match the size and style of the windows that are currently there. He found them in the old barn, so he's using all the materials that he can find that's on site, and so everything will match.
In that respect, now, some of the material that he should find there is the Rozier cabin. That was demolished. It was over next to the Knights of Columbus building, a one-room vertical log structure.
Yeah.
There are very good plans for it in the HABS drawings.
And where?
That a HABS drawings has
But where's-
detailed construction plans of that building. It was put in one of those buildings down there for storage. And I think you'll find a record of that in the, in some of your lists.
Yeah.
But there were
I've heard
two
him
old
talk
buildings there, the one that was on Bob Rutler's property
Yeah,
and the Rozier cabin.
they were taken down and put on the land.
It's a very important little building because it was probably more in tune with what the living style was at that time than the few great big buildings that we have now.
Is that the building that's standing that they've been
No,
putting
that's
back, or
not.
is it totally
That's
disassembled?
another building.
It's laying flat.
There's
It's
two
laying
buildings
flat,
back there
yeah.
somewhere.
I wonder if Hank knows that.
It's either, from what I understand, it's either in one of these two buildings.
In the middle building, there's not very much in there, and they have been removing lumber to do the upgrades on the other old one. But it's not vertical, or anything like that, it's flat, it's like.
And for a time there was,
2x10s.
the logs were laying on the ground.
Okay, I'll ask him.
So, but I remember when they had taken those other buildings down and taken all of the parts of the building down there.
I have no idea whether it's still there.
Right, I don't
know it
either.
was removed there, and it's in the records that it is stored there.
Was there an agreement made about what would happen to this building? I mean, any kind of deed
I don't know.
restriction or anything?
I don't know.
I don't
All
know.
I'm saying is that I don't think he has any responsibility for it, but I think from a historical standpoint, if the remains are still there, they should be identified and retained.
And I think he would want to know that. He
Yeah.
would do that. Okay.
I remember when that was all took place, but I don't know if it's still there either. I'm with Frank. If there's a set not being looked at, can I see?
You also, this packet.
The roof replacement on the Paquette should be finished by now.
It is.
Thank you.
You finish it today.
Okay. And they did some repairs on the porch and on that roof itself, and it looks very nice. And Elizabeth Watkins from the Chapeau's been down to review it before the job, to look at the materials and everything, so it's all been okayed through the Chapeau. The other house is on 2nd Street. I think it's 50 North 2nd. It's the Queen Anne that's been for sale for several years. It's recently been sold to Dr. Ritter,
Oh,
who will be
okay,
joining
yeah.
Dr. O'Donnell's practice. There was not really a kitchen in there, and so they are renovating the interior to put a kitchen in there. And on the side, where you see all the windows, the two windows that are close together is where the kitchen's going to be. There wasn't room for the kitchen cabinets on the interior. That's why I've got pictures of the interior. And she was wanting to take one of the windows out. But instead of doing that, she's agreed to keep the window and put drywall up halfway up, and make it, so it'll stay the same on the outside. But she'll still have space to put a cabinet, and she's willing to do that, so. They're totally renovating, restoring the interior, right down to the wood floors, restoring things that have been taken out. They're like pocket doors that were no longer working. So they're going to be very good neighbors. In the future, she wants to take the asbestos off of the house. She's hoping to find enough clapboard there to restore. If not, she's going to find pieces of old clapboard to replace what's rotten.
Did you advise her about the window, or she just changed her mind, or?
No, we talked about it.
Because
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
allowed people to move windows before.
Well,
Probably more historical homes than this one.
The rhythm that these windows obviously set, I felt was important, and she was willing to do whatever
Yeah.
she felt was the
That's nice,
appropriate thing to
yeah.
do. So-
So it's not the back, the shorter
No, it's not
part.
the addition, it's there in the front.
All right, well, good.
Suggestion, those are old windows, right?
Yeah, yes, and they're original.
So at this point, the only thing that affects this commission is the movement of the one, or the
That's
one window, which will be covered on the interior.
There's no.
But she's actually
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah,
the
she's
window
not gonna
there
move
and
that.
the,
Yeah.
and the frame.
She's not gonna
I was
move
just going to
anything.
say, you should recommend to her that she caulk that window really heavy.
Right. And we discussed about what to do to
From the
prevent
inside.
leakage. Yeah,
Yeah.
prevent any kind of water seepage
Right.
in there.
Because you can't get to it for maintenance from the inside.
Right, right.
Terrific.
Anything else?
I would like to introduce Mr. Doug Range and Susanna Creeks.
Kriegshauser.
Say that again, real loud.
Kriegshauser.
Creeks, I've been practicing that all day, and I still can't say it. They are with DNS Detective Services, is that right? And they are here in town to do detecting, and I would like to introduce them to the community and have them explain what they do, and you're going to be seeing them in town for the next several months, hopefully.
Oh, good. Come on up.
It's really exciting what they do, and they brought some samples of what they found.
Okay.
Ghosts?
Ghosts? Maybe so.
Let them out of the bag.
Doug and I had farmed up, we met at the Missouri Civil War Museum and found out we both absolutely love history, and that we were both detectorists. I've been doing it for about 15 years, Doug's been doing it a little over 10, and we both had the same mindset, which is, unlike many detectorists, we believe that whatever you have detected should stay where it was found, if at all possible. And that is not usually the norm. It's usually, you find it, you buy it, or you sell it someplace, and or keep it in your own personal files. But we believe that, if we found something on any of the properties here, that it should stay with the property, pending of owner's approval. If they don't want it, of course we'll take it. But in this case, I think, it should go to the museum here, or whoever owns the land. And so we've already done part of the Beckett House, and we did find a bunch of artifacts. We're still trying to get in touch with Mr. Johnson, because he's a hard man to get in touch with. But one of the things that sets us apart is that we do not leave any sign of our presence when we're there. As Brenda can tell you, they went back and didn't know we were there, because we don't leave holes. We cut the sod. Now in this case, the soil that you have down here is so friable that normally we cut a 3-sided flat so that we do not kill your grass, and we bend it back, and if it's on a lawn that's really good, where in this case Mr. Johnson's house, it was dirt and weeds, but normally we would bend it back on a drop cloth or something like that. In this case, the soil just fell apart. And so it was actually doubly hard to get it so that it didn't look like we were there. But that's what we do. After we're done with our dig, which we were out there for 9 hours, we go back over the land and we check to make sure that there's no sign of our presence. And we also do a little extra, like Doug took all of the branches that had fallen down there and we cleaned up the yard.
I needed some kindling.
Yeah, he needed kindling too. So we do that, but one of the important things is that we had found something on Mr. Johnson's property that when started to excavate it, it began falling apart, and it was iron, so we knew it was very old, so because it was, just flaking. So instead of what 99% of people would do, which would be to just continue digging it up, that's not our policy. We know when we're over our head on something. So Doug has pictures here of what we did, which was we excavated, the hole kept getting bigger and bigger in this thing. We still didn't come to the end of it, but we knew as it started flaking that we didn't need to go to the end of it. We needed to stop. So we put the little pieces that we found in a plastic bag and put it back on top of, we're going to call it a door, we're not sure what it is, it has strap hinges on it, and then reburied it. And then we contacted Brenda to maybe get an archaeological team down there to excavate it because we didn't know what it was and we didn't know how historical it was. So that's what we do as professional detectorists here. And that's what, if we get permission, to go to any of the other properties around here, that's what we do, is we try and preserve your history and give it back to you. That's what we're passionate about.
And these artifacts came from the Beckett property?
No.
No, I actually detect in 2 countries, England and here,
Okay.
and I get their artifacts over there. I actually have an article in the British Museum.
Yeah.
So it's very
Because there has been quite a bit of work done there, and you might want to contact people who've done it.
Yeah, I read all about the dig. It was in 2004, I believe.
Well, it's several years that they've
It was
done it.
2000.
Elizabeth
Plus,
Scott.
Yeah.
plus the, when they restored the Beckett Russell's house, there was an archaeologist, Dr. Thurman, who was very interested in that. And he may have left some records, some papers on that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
And plus that, then the team from, I don't know whether they're from Illinois or no. I know the gentleman that
Illinois
was,
State, I believe.
his gentleman and his wife live in St. Mary's, which is right down the road.
Yeah.
And they did extensive investigation there and behind the,
Yeah, we like to look at that information. The dig that Elizabeth Scott did it was really interesting.
Those
a
are
lot
the
of
things
history.
talking about.
that's the person I'm talking about,
Yeah.
lived there, Scott and her husband.
Talked about, we were talking earlier about, she had said that the residents in 1802 used lead for bullets for protection and to hunt, and also lead coin currency. And that was before the Louisiana Purchase. And that would be something that would be
Yeah.
great to find, site-specific, for the museum
Oh, yeah.
or something that, I don't know if there's any lead coins, I don't know if they're around, or if, that would be something that we would like to find, something like that would be really fun, or whatever.
Yeah, lead is very easy to detect. This was one of the things I detected in England, which is a Roman loom weight. I have a picture of how it looks, but lead comes up very good on a detector, so if you have any of your lead stuff, like he's talking about.
Another gentleman that you may be familiar with that's done quite a bit of work of this type is Dr. Terry Norris with the Corps of Engineers. He's retired from the Corps, but he's a doctor in that field, and he's come up with truckloads of artifacts from here.
Has he?
And it's nice when the professionals can get together and
Yeah.
coordinate what they have.
Yes. As professionals, we run across the amateurs quite a bit and see
Yeah.
what damage they've
Yes,
done.
we always have our share of those that want to go down there.
When you say professional to me, I think you make money out of it.
No, we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean
As you know-
training and experience.
Yeah, we know.
Yes,
And you have
yes.
standards to it.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah. Someday we'd like to actually make some gas money, because it takes us an hour to get down here, but we're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah, we just-
That's why we joined the Civil War Museum, because, we love history, and that's why we're doing this, is,
We love history and like research, and we love detecting. It's just,
Has this been running?
Last summer, we had some diggers come through town, and they'd just walk and ask if they could dig, and they had maps where the privies were.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they showed us, and they would ask if you wanted it, and if you didn't, they would take it. But some of the stuff they dug up was...
Did they dig some privies?
Yeah, and they had maps
Nice.
of where the privies
Yes.
were. I don't know how they came up with those.
Probably some
Oh,
historical
yeah.
or
It's-
Sanborn.
It was the Sanborns.
Who,
Yeah.
did anybody run into them and get their
I
names?
don't know their name, but they probed my backyard.
Yeah, they'd probe it, and they could literally tell.
Yeah.
And they showed maps like down on Main Street and that, how the privies were in line. And I looked at it, it was interesting, because they had,
Yeah, privy diggers, they're
Privy
specialists.
diggers.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many, do you know how many privies they dug, or when did they?
well, that was a while back, but I know that day there was 3 of them. 3 of them they dug, and they were waiting to get permission to get on some other people's property and dig them.
And did they find what, bottles?
Yeah, bottles
Bottles
and
and stuff?
bottles
That's
and
a big
cheap glass.
business.
Yeah.
It's
a big
very
business.
unprofessional
It-
normally, the way they go at it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
They go
they
with
find
shovels.
things, but
Yeah.
they miss a great deal
Yeah.
by
Right.
not doing it.
And they
professionally.
destroy some stuff if they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
Because the probes will go down and literally shatter things, you know,
Right.
so.
How deep do you guys go?
Depends on soil conditions and our detectors and moisture, a lot of different factors.
Yeah. Mr. Johnson's house, the soil was perfect at that time, except it's so mineralized with the flakes of iron everywhere. It was like detecting a huge sheet of iron.
Right.
So, between the 2 of us, we have 6 detectors, so we figured one of them was going to be able to get something, and we actually had 2 that could, so
Yeah, I mean,
that was good, but.
Technically, 12 inches, they say, but that's
Yeah.
perfect conditions.
12
That-
inches.
That would be something like this silver dollar being, perfect moisture in the soil and perfectly, horizontal.
Facing you, yeah.
Not vertically at all. It depends on how big, something like that would be a lot easier to find than the small
And
piece
it
of a
depends upon your
buckle.
level of expertise, because if you haven't heard the tone before and you don't know what it is, you might not dig it past it up, so.
I had to dig some footings here on some very old property, and I let the owners of the property know that maybe we should have somebody come in here and do a slow dig before I dig these footings. Well, we dug them, and it was a mistake. That's all I can say. We shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And they learned then, that,
Mhm.
wow. I said, we can't dig in this area no more, what I mean? They were just post holes, but it was enough to
Yeah.
Right.
realize we made a mistake, so.
I mean, we're probably not going to find 8 tin cans filled with
$10 million.
If we see you running down the road, we're not gonna follow you.
Everybody told me that story, and it's like, oh,
And
man.
England's been really hitting it good over there, what they're
Yes.
finding.
Well, I detected Norfolk, and about every square inch, there's something, because it's 4,000 years of history.
Yeah, I think we got laws
But
now.
over there,
Strict
anything
laws.
from the 1600s to newer times is considered too new to even worry about. And some of the finds, I'm not sure if I brought them tonight, I had, this is my export papers from this past year. I found 6 items that were declared treasure. One of them ended up in the British Museum, but the other 6, because they were from the 1600s and they were scarce but not rare, they said, take them back,
You can keep
take them home.
Isn't it amazing?
1600s, over here, my gosh, we'd be running down the street, but over there, it's nothing. And they literally throw them in shoeboxes and sell them at garage, what they call boot sales over there. Roman coins are like pennies. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I picked up my share of Roman coins over the Eagle.
It's
But
crazy.
one of the things also, Doug and I wear these vests when we're out so that it's us, and that, it's not just somebody walking in the back room, the backyard and that, plus we don't want to get arrested. So, yeah, we don't want to meet the sheriff, so, anyway, we try to be as professional as we know how. And unfortunately, in metal detecting, there are no rules. It's a hobby, it's not a sport, it's not regulated. I work to change that myself by giving classes to new detectorists. I'll have one coming up on May 3rd up at Cliff Cave Library up in St. Louis. And I go over things like safety, professionalism, what do you do after you've done a dig, permissions, all these kind of things where I don't know if you know anybody, but a lot of people that I know will get a detector for Christmas, or their child will. What is first thing they do? They run out to a park. Well, in St. Louis, the parks are not detectable, and people don't know that. And so they go there, and the park ranger comes up and arrests them, so it's like, oh, what was it? Well, I was just out here,
Certain parks, yeah. they
You
all-
have to check, you have
It's
to know the
not
rules, you have to check your rules. I mean, your rules down here are different from St. Louis.
Mhm.
We have to
The
know
county and the
what it
city
is.
are different in St.
Right.
Louis.
Yeah.
City, you
So-
can detect a lot of the parks.
Right.
The county, most of them now,
Surface.
where you could use a probe, or you could use a detector, but it's like a screwdriver, and if it's a coin, you can
Which
just
we
use
do
that.
not
You can't-
recommend because you scratch everything
Yeah.
or break it, whatever it is. So, yeah, so, we follow what rules there are and try and stay professional. And we also let the public know what we're doing, because the more people are informed about what we're doing, the more that if they get into it, maybe they'll do it, but also that you just know that besides the TV programs, the reality shows out there where these guys are running around like crazy and, detecting on anything and just going nuts. But besides those programs, there are people that are out there and they're professional. And Doug and I are professional. So we just wanted to bring that up to you and let you know what we're doing in your town.
We love to meet people who own the property and pictures and the history, and talk to them, and, Grandpa, or if anyone has stories, just.
That's
I
part of
like
what we
all
do
that.
too, is
It's
just get the history.
And if anybody, another thing, if somebody in town would, a family member lost a ring last year in
Oh,
their
yeah.
front yard, we'll go,
We're
and
members
try
of
to-
lostmystuff.net,
Yeah.
which is an organization all over the world that goes out and detects for you for free if you've lost something. And even if you're on vacation, if you just contact them, and who's ever in the area will go out and get it.
Do you have contact information that
Yeah.
we can leave with? Can we
We have
leave it with-
cards.
Okay, we can leave it with Brenda, or, yeah.
Do you have a plan schedule?
Well, right now, we're working on the Beckett house, and we just found out it's like double the size that we thought the yard was. And then
We'd like to stop by the Senator Lynn property.
Senator Lynn
Maybe.
and Abishan
and
sooner or
mention,
later.
and,
I've got a
mention
corner
interest.
post on my property that I can't.
That's what we do.
It was only put in 3 years ago, and I know
Yeah.
within 3 feet of where it is, but I can't
We'll
find it.
find it for
Yeah.
you.
Well, I was telling Brenda, when we were on the Beckett house, that there was some kind of a pipe in the ground that has a little cap on it, and we're not sure what the heck that was, or what, we thought maybe it was a property marker, but it didn't look like any property marker I've ever detected before, and so I don't know what it was, but, it might have been natural gas for all I knew, and I didn't want to dig
Yeah.
something up,
Right.
so
Right.
covered it back over again, and
It's on the
they,
Beckett.
it's on the Beckett house,
That
so.
might be something that Scott or husband was there.
It could have been, and that's something that when we do detect any of the houses here, to get as much information
Yeah, we need as
before we
much
go out.
information as we can get.
Because there was an electrical wire running through the yard we found, and then this thing, whatever it was, out there. And it just helps us also to know the size of the actual property. Because we thought the Beckett house was only half of what it actually was.
Yeah.
So now we're going to be spending a lot more time out there, but, all that information ahead of time, it also helps us a lot, so that we don't stray over property lines. We don't want to do that,
We don't
so.
want any trouble.
Well, there's been quite a bit of both informal, which no one knows how much damage that has done.
Yeah.
And formal and professional work done here.
Yes.
And if we can only get all of what has been done coordinated, we'd know a lot
That-
more about
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Hasn't there been a lot of digs at the Green Tree Tavern?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's been several.
A lot of archaeological.
Green Tree Tavern. Yeah.
Because there's more than this town of St. Genevieve. There's the old town.
Yeah, we were interested in that
Then
too.
beyond, below that is the Saline.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of work done there, and the people that did it are still around.
Yeah.
Right. Our major hurdle right now is time, because number one, it takes so long to get down here for us, and then second of all, we both work 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And the detecting season is actually sort of short. The last couple of winters, we would have been able to do it throughout the winter.
That's
The ground would have
Not
been
this
fine.
year.
But this year, right when we have everything that we can
Poison
detect, we
ivy.
couldn't get out here to detect, so that really set us
The lawns
back.
aren't,
Yeah.
we don't do pristine lawns anyway, but it's, when you're digging in the summer in people's yards, it just
Yeah.
looks, It does, it's easy.
In St. Louis, it's all clay, you can't dig in the summer.
No, it
It's
dries out
concrete,
so
you know,
much.
and
Yeah.
supposedly we're supposed to get another drought year this year, and you cannot detect it. The detectors need moisture, and you can't detect when there's nothing. So that shortens our season too.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people will come in, and then they start getting excited, and then we start getting jobs, and it's like, oh my gosh, we'd only have so much time. But when the kids are out of school and stuff like that, we'll have some more days. But right now, it's a little limited, but we get down here, like Sunday, we're going to try and get down here again. And but when we do get down here, we're pulling 9-hour days, and that's a long time detecting, so, yeah. But anyway, so you'll see us around, and we just wanted to make ourselves known to you. And
Good, thank
Show
you
you
so
the-
much
Oh, you're
for
welcome. Thanks for having us.
coming
Love it.
and, coming down and doing this. And if anybody is out there watching this, contact Brenda at City Hall, and then she can give you their contact information.
Yeah, if anyone at all is interested, we'd be happy to come
Yeah.
up and talk to them about it.
thank you for your
Very
time.
good, thank you, this is great.
Did they tell you you were on camera?
We just kind of like to mention that, yeah. But, okay, any other business?
I just have a question.
Meeting now?
I read in the paper
Probably stick around for that.
that the mayor had put up a committee together. And, I don't know, I guess I was just wondering why the rest, why I found out in the paper.
I was going to give you an update on that.
And-
Would you like to join in on that?
No, I'll let you do it.
My sentiments exactly.
And I'll,
Yeah, I know, how you feel?
Yes, the mayor did put a committee together to review the landmarks program, not specifically the ordinance, but the program itself. And the committee is comprised of the mayor, myself, Frank Roth.
He hasn't been attending regularly.
That's right, Frank Roth, Teddy Russ, Shauna Zerwig, Martin, and myself. Is that everybody?
Frank?
I said Frank, oh, Frank Meyer,
Oh,
yes, Frank
Frank.
Meyer also. We haven't gotten anything concrete. What we're looking at doing is, rather than remapping a district or shrinking a district, applying the guidelines to H1, which is the National Register, and H2, it would be streetscape. We're going to put together some guideline recommendations for streetscapes. And any landmark that's on the list of original landmarks would also be under design review. It was also talked about to rename the commission. We're looking at another name for the commission, and looking at the number of members. Again, nothing is in concrete yet. It's all kind of in discussion mode right now. We're also reviewing the demolition ordinance, so that will be a part of it also. And the administrative review, we would like to put something down a little more concrete with that. Is that everything?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much everything that we've discussed so far. We've met 3 times, I believe.
Well, I mean, I guess we all knew something was happening, but I guess I wanted to know why it was such a big secret.
Yeah.
That's not a question I can answer. I don't know if it was
It
meant
was a
to...
secret.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So
It was-
You're talking about renaming the commission? So give me a for instance.
We were looking at something like the Heritage Commission, something...
Instead of the Landmarks Commission?
Yes.
So are we getting away from the landmarks in the federal government? and all
No,
that?
it will be the same ordinance, the same duties, everything
I'm
you
just
do
curious
now.
why we want to get away from the landmarks, which is what everything's about, is the Landmarks Commission. But I guess we'll hear about that when it's decided.
No, I think it will come to you before it goes to the board.
Yeah. And we had just renamed it from the Landmarks Commission to the St. Genevieve Historic Preservation and Landmarks Commission.
Yeah, landmarks.
It's,
is
Five
and it
years
was
ago,
urban
3 years
design
ago.
at one time.
Yeah.
Urban design instead of Landmarks Commission, or urban design and Landmarks Commission?
No, at one time it was called Urban Review, I believe, Commission. It's been renamed several times.
Okay.
The name we have right now is probably closer to our function than some of the suggestions that have been made to replace it. And I haven't heard all of them, and maybe it's a good idea. But what we have right now describes what our mission is. I think the general opinion may be that the reputation of the Landmark Commission is somewhat tainted, and it could be improved by changing the name.
It's a marketing thing.
Yeah.
But we were
Yeah.
discussing issues that...
Teddy Ross. You forgot Teddy.
No, she said Teddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The issues that the aldermen and the mayor have heard, to try to clarify what the issues were before we decided to, try to take anything on. Most of the issues surrounded window replacements and vinyl siding, as you could probably guess. And a lot of people, for some reason, don't like just having to answer to the landmarks. They don't like to ask permission.
Well, and I get that. I mean, I feel the same way. But I also feel like we're following what guidelines the aldermen had set forth.
Right. And I think they understand that you are enforcing what they have asked you to enforce. And so I believe that's probably why the mayor put this committee together, is because he realizes it's the board's responsibility, if there's an issue, to try to resolve those issues, not yours.
And I don't think all of them always remember that it is their guidelines and their ordinance that we are enforcing.
And what nobody seems to remember is our hands are tied.
Right.
Right.
This is what we were asked to do.
Yeah, it's not an opinion. It's written right there in our handbook. So the handbook that the government spent all this money for, because St. John wasn't doing a good job, came down and had them give us a handbook to follow. So,
Well, St. Genevieve paid for that.
right. Through grant money.
Yeah, for grants,
Through
yeah.
grant money and that. So that's what you're working on, is that handbook.
No, we are not. We
You're
are
not
not
changing
redoing the
that?
guidelines.
Wow.
No.
We're
okay.
just looking at where we want to apply those guidelines.
Okay. Okay. Now I understand that.
Which is within the wording of the ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's positive, but
Yeah.
I guess I was just, I don't know, I guess part of it is because we haven't had a meeting since November.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I found out about it in the paper. So,
Well, and we didn't really want to report on anything that we didn't really have any agreement on. Again, we haven't had anything in writing that we have reviewed yet. This is all a discussion phase.
I've been reporting at the Board of Aldermen meetings on the progress that committee has. It's been part of the city administrator's report. I wasn't quite as specific as Brenda.
well,
tonight.
yeah, but I've watched those, but it doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Well, but you were suggesting that there was some kind of covert effort to put this group together. I mean, it's been over.
Oh, no, but I mean, I'm a part of Landmarks, and I didn't know that had originally happened.
Anything else on this? Any other issues that we need to talk about, or? Okay. I'll be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Very good.